Shavua Tov, everyone. Thank you for coming, everybody. Shekoach Gadol. We're learning the month of Tevet. The month is sponsored by Elon and Jenny Englenoff, Leilui Nishmat Avram Chai Ben Yosef Shimon Zichron Livracha. It's so beautiful to see the week. So many dedications here. Ashrechem. It really warms the heart to see so many people excited to participate in learning. It's beautiful. By Danielle and Avi Robinson, in memory of Avi's father, Moshe Nachum ben Yaakov Echana Liba, Zichron Livracha. By Sarah Gold, in memory of Tchia Shirel Shimona, Bat Baruch Halevi Vesara, on her 6th yahrzeit. And for the Refuas Nefesh Ve'aguf of Chavi Yochevet Hadas Bat Sarah Shetichia. By Avram and Miriam Deutsch, Leilui Nishmas Menachem ben Shmuel Eliezer Veliba. By Jill and Robert Kaufman and Michal and Hanan Shaul, in memory of Tamar Bat Moshe and Azriel ben Aryeh. And by by Brent Eisen and family, in memory of Chaim Aaron ben Binyamin HaKohen, and also for Meira's grandson, Michael ben Shoshana. Whose son is this? Whose child is this?
Yitzi's daughter, Danny.
Okay, She'ever Refuah Shlema B'ezrat Hashem. Okay, we're starting a new chapter this week. We're starting the next shlav in this beautiful mahalach that we're in, and it's a beautiful topic, Lev Chadash. We're ready to receive a new heart. We're ready for a Lev Chadash. And from the pages that you have, we're going to start from Daf Kuf Tet Vav. I'm just going to quickly recap, which is really the first two pages that you have on Kuf Yud Aleph. The first few pages, Kuf Yud Aleph, Kuf Yud Bet, Kuf Yud Gimel. You know, what we're going to be speaking about today, after understanding that we're at the shlav of the second, we're in this transition period of the second shlav of redemption, the second level of redemption, which has to do with komat haneshama, this next level of kumimiyut, of getting up and realizing that we can't continue here with what's going on here, with the whole enterprise, with this whole mahalach of geulah, of coming back home, of building the land, building the country. We cannot move, we won't be able to move forward unless we address that it's all about a spiritual revolution right now. And we've said this many times, and until we really call it out for what it is and understand that is the avodah right now. It's a spiritual revolution throughout the country. It's not building, we've seen already, building more iron domes and blocks and all those things are not advancing us anywhere. They're making us go backwards. They're making us actually go backwards. And now, the mahalach that we're in right now is the komat haneshama, is the neshama, is the soul, saying right now, to complete and really, I would almost say justify all the work that was done for 75 years, it's now a matter of addressing the Shechina. Now that's where we're at now, addressing the Shechina. And in this parak that we have right now, we're going to see how could we do a ziruz. Ziruz means how could we make things go a little bit faster? Lezarez, to make things go faster. How do we get things to yalla, let's move forward. Let things go faster a little bit. And those that have the sefer, just you could follow me on Daf Kuf Yud Aleph, the second paragraph, where he says that the talich ha-geula hu kmo talich hitpatchut shel yeled. Redemption is like the development process of a child. Kol adam batchila mitpatach begufo. So each kid, it's always so interesting whenever someone comes and sees the kids after, a little bit of time. Oh my God, they got so big. Like, when do people stop saying that after they didn't see people for a while? It's actually like a really, it's not such a nice thing. Oh my God, you got so big. If you're like already it stops. Yeah. So all those things, right? All those things stop at a certain point. But when a kid is growing, there's itpatchut, there's a development. First, the beginning of the development, the growth is physical. Afterwards, the senses are what developed more, Bezrat Hashem. And misham itpatachat komat hadat v'machshava. And then this level of da'as, of knowledge and machshava, begin to emerge. And after all that, he says, Rak la'achar miken mofia haratzon ha'amok. Only after all of that, then ratzon. You actually begin to understand what you really want. So I want to go like this again. I want you to follow me. This is very important. The beginning, he says, Geula is like the development of a human being. Begins with the child is born, and then it starts to grow a lot. Like most of us don't really look that different from a certain age and on. We kind of more or less look the same. But a child is always evolving and changing. After that, after a while, then what happens, he says, emotions and senses and feelings start to be developed. After that, I begin to attain a level of da'at, of machshava, of thoughts, of knowledge. And after all of that, mofia haratzon ha'amok. Then I begin to, what appears in me is, what is it that I actually really want? Now that I have a body, I have feelings, I have emotions, I have thoughts that are constantly going in and out of my mind. Now, haratzon ha'amok. The actual ratzon that we want, hamevakeshet ha'yud v'atachlit ha'amitit shel ha'chaim. Only after that you come to the notion of, this is actually what I really want from life. This is actually what I really want. My destination, my purpose. This is called it nekudat haneshama ve'haora. This is the point of soul and light. Bekach anu ro'im, the next page on Kuf Yud Bet, now we begin to see that Dafka anashim mevugarim, it's usually adults, they're the ones that keep on, this is where they get stuck. This is where it doesn't move forward so much. Dafka anashim mevugarim, sovevim betzura amuka sviv she'elat hazehut ve'hayeud ha'atzmi. Dafka, it's like, people that are at an older age, they begin to circle the very deep question, and they go round and around regarding the question of, what's my identity? Now, everything that's happening in the world, both in the chaos, in the chaotic world, and in the world that hopefully is not chaos, is always mirroring each other. If there's one question that we see our generation is dealing with throughout the world, is the question of identity. It's not stam. These were not questions people had 20, 30 years ago. And if they had them, they were still or hate. That means it's like, sheket, quiet. It's all a question of identity now. And it's showing up in so many different areas. So because we see it somewhat in a more chaotic state of being, it also means that it's really a question that we have to answer ourselves. What is our identity? That's why, by the way, I'm just not pushing any political agendas here. I'm just sharing a thing that I thought is that when Moshe Feiglin came out with his party called the Zehut, everyone thought he was gonna, remember when he was in the first, I don't remember which election but, at all, right? Maybe it was the first one out of 4, where there were 4, right? 5, 4. I think the first one, he comes onto the scene, and he has a party, and what's the name of it? Zehut. He's like, let's figure out what our identity is. Let's actually, we're under the assumption we know what it is. Let's write it out. Let's figure this out. Because he understood the calling that people, especially young generation, has is, I want to understand what my actual identity really is as a Jew, as an Israeli living in Eretz Yisrael. What's my identity? And with shock, crazy. Everyone thought that he was going to go into the Knesset, start with the polls were 11. He's going with 11 seats. He didn't even cross the threshold. So Rav Sasson is telling us that what's burning inside of the nishmat ha'umah, of the soul of the people, is really this question of identity. What actually is our identity here? And the more that that's neglected, the more that all the other areas that we're trying to go with advancements, we're going to hit our head in the wall over and over and over again. Because the soul, at this shlav in life, you just can't ignore the soul. You can't ignore the soul. You'll keep on running into crisis after crisis after crisis. Which brings us to the place that he explains. If you turn the page now on Kuf Yud Daled, I'm sorry, those that don't, I only photocopied from where we're going to start to learn inside, but just if you see the paragraph that begins, V'ishlachti ra'av ba'aretz, it's one of our favorite songs from the prophet Amos. So amazing, we're learning words from the prophet Amos. Amos is buried about 12 minutes from here, Kever Amos, right here between, on the way to Tkoa. From here to Tkoa, you have Kever Amos right there at the Tzomet T. You've noticed it before? The Kever of Amos Hanavi? When you drive to Tkoa, really? When you drive to Tkoa, Adina's from Tkoa. Adina, you've noticed the prophet Amos, no? No. Not if you know the prophet. I'm saying the drive home from here, when you get to the T junction and you make the left to Tkoa, right across the street there is the kever of the prophet Amos, Amos Hanavi. Yeah, it's right there. And you learn something every drive home, you know? Every drive home. Yafeh. What are the most, the prophet Amos, I personally relate to him so much mainly because of the beautiful prophecy that he said. Rav Shlomo used to sing this, days are coming, there'll be a hunger in the world. The hunger won't be for bread, the thirst won't be for water. What will the hunger and the thirst actually be? To hear the word of Hashem. Days are here. It's not days are coming. Hinei yamim po. Days are here. They're here already. What are the days that are here? Like, if you listen really closely, beneath the surface of all the chatter, the hunger, the thirst, this non-satiated state of being is to actually hear the word of Hashem. And we know that the days of feeling guilty over not hearing the word of God just from text, they're done. We're not feeling guilty over it because the soul is reaching a place of saying, there's got to be more. Chayav liot yoter mize. Yesh po yoter mize. Has to be more. And this is the shlav hasheni, like he says. You just read the words from the quote from Amos Hanavi. Hinei yamim be'im ne'um Hashem Elokim. What's his name? Rebo also has a beautiful song with these words, right? Hinei yamim ba'im ne'um Hashem Elokim lo ra'av lalechem. You don't know this song? V'lo tzama lamayim. It's one of my favorite songs of his. השלחתי רעב בארץ, לא רעב ללחם ולא צמא למים, כי אם לשמוע את דברי השם, ונעו מים עד ים, מצפון ועד מזרח, ישוטטו לבקש את דבר השם ולא ימצאו. People are going to be wandering all over the place to seek counsel from the wise people, from friends, I don't know, and everyone's going to be a große Eitzah giver. That means a tremendous... advice giver, but people are looking for something more than that. Everyone's looking for something more than that. V'lo yimtza'u, they're not going to find it. Bayom hahu tit'alafna habetulot hayafot v'abachurim batzama. People are going to להתעלף. That means faint. They're looking and looking and looking, and they'll be like, I'm so thirsty, and nothing's satiating my thirst. So, this is the perfect a moment to now understand where are we. Part of the process of Geula is Venatati lachem lev chadash, giving you a new heart. What does that mean to get a new heart? It's not just poetic, well, beautiful. You receive a new heart. Ma kavanapo. What's the meaning of such a thing? I don't know anyone that would say, I'm good. Lo tzarich. Like, my heart's good. Everyone wants everyone wants a new heart. But not everyone understands what that actually means. Okay, so now, from the pages that you have in front of you, Daf Kuf Tedvav. And I'm just saying, if the chevra anyone from Rav Sasson's chevra that put out these sfarim are listening to us right now or learning with us online, we're all, say amen to this so that they could actually believe me, we're all begging for reprints so that we could learn the Torah better and more closely. Amen. That was real. That's real people. They need more Sfarim. I don't think I can do it. I don't run this. I can't print this. They need more Sfarim. Okay. Nechaded me'at et advarim. Let's sharpen these words. Let's sharpen the understanding of the place that we're in. We're on Daf Kuf Tet Vav. Cheshek halev, the passion of the heart, behet'em l'shlav ha'geula. נחדד מעט את הדברים. ראינו שיש שני שלבים עיקריים בגאולת ישראל, שלב גאולת הגוף ושלב הופעת הנשמה בקרבנו. This is the meaning of the word קוממיות. There are two stages. We've said this so many times. The stage of the redemption of the body, which to a certain extent, not all of Am Yisrael is here yet, but to the largest extent we've had since Churban Bayit Sheni, that has been taking place, the redemption of the body out of Galut, home. Shlav Ofat HaNeshama B'Kirbeinu, and the piece where the soul appears in our midst. That, much more shvach, hasn't really happened yet. Shnei השלבים הללו אינם תהליך שמתרחש מחוץ לעם ישראל, אלא בתוכנו פנימה. These two things are taking place within us, not that are happening outside of us externally. These are both pieces that must take place inside of us. זאת אומרת, it's not that anymore that we're going to be following the lead of someone. The lead will be people directing you to discover your own soul and the nekuda of Shechina that is by you. That is the next shlav, which is something we're not accustomed to. We're still accustomed to following, looking for the leader, v'chulei. And this, what he's saying over here is these things are taking place inside of us, especially the hofa'at of the neshama, the soul appearing inside. הם כמו תהליך גדילה של אדם, like the way a person grows up, שכל שלב בחיים, at every stage in life, האדם משתוקק מתוכו לפתח ולבנות את אותו השלב. At every single stage in life, a person longs from within to develop and to build that themselves at the state that they're in. אנחנו נדחפים מתוכנו לצמוח ולגדול. We're being pushed, really, the real moments of growth in life always come from us pushing ourselves from the inside. The real moments, the real stages where I could sense that gadalti, tzamachti, I've grown, is not because someone explained something to me, but that I've gone through an experience. I have been my greatest Rebbe. You know, today with the Kollel guys, we're doing 3 months now. I say that, it'll probably be more like 5 months, but we're beginning to delve into the world of the Piasetzner Rebbe, and I've been thinking for like a few weeks already, where to begin? How do I start? And on Shabbos, I remembered, Baruch Hashem, when my Tiferet became Bat Mitzvah, we spent the year learning, we learned the whole Sefer, Chovas HaTalmidim, student's obligation. And that, the Rebbe said, when you learn my Svarim, go through that order, start with Chovat HaTalmidim, the student's obligation. And there was a point the Rebbe repeated over and over again in Chovas HaTalmidim, those of you that have learned it remember this, where the Rebbe says to children, you have to remember, there is a teacher in the classroom, there is a Rebbe in shul, but you are your greatest mechanech. Tells us to children. He doesn't tell educators he says to children, I understand, it is like you can get away with anything, but at the end of the day, for you to advance, you have to realize you are your greatest educator. You're your greatest mechanech or mechanechet. It's giving the child the whole world when they could really hear those words. I feel like it's what he's saying over here as well. At every stage in life, the stages that show me that I truly grew doesn't mean I finally started going to a shul that davens in a certain style. Look at me, I've grown. That sounds very shvach. That sounds pretty shallow. I finally started hanging out with certain group of chevra, they're more deep. That doesn't attest to the real evolution, the real shlav, aliyat madriga in life. We know.
I found Shirat David.
And then.
I'm joking, but it does feel elevated to find a place that speaks to you.
Elevated, yeah, but the shlav we're talking about, what we're speaking about over here, is that you could really sense that I have gone through work that has gotten me to grow, can only happen after you attach yourself to whatever works for you. Is that clear? B'chol shlav b'chaim, third line from the bottom of this paragraph, at every stage in life, yesh lanu, halavai, Bezrat Hashem, everyone should feel this, yesh lanu cheshek gadol u'dchifa aza el oto hashlav. Hopefully this is sad when people stop feeling passionate about anything, but really, at any shlav in life where we're moving towards something, you get a sense of a tremendous cheshek, a passion, and a push, an inner strong push to go and move forward, weiter, to the next stage. Now, this is the trick. But then, when Kita Aleph finished, then the passion of the heart leaves the previous shlav that you were just in, where you were certain this is your identity. This is me. And then you grew up. You grew up. And then he says, "Umatchil lechapes tashlav haba." And then what begins to look for the next shlav? The cheshek of the lev, the passion of the heart, starts looking for the next shlav. And here's something very important. Very, very important. When I grow spiritually and I realize I'm in a different place, if I have a need to knock the lower place that I was before, it means I don't honor my own path. I don't really give cover to what I've had to go through in life. Sometimes I meet, we spoke about this years ago, you meet chevra that, I saw this all the time. Chevra I'd meet at hippie gatherings and all these different places when they didn't know the difference between Aleph and Beis. And they got, you told them like there was a concept called Kiddush and they blew their minds that this thing called Kiddush. Then they end up in about Shuli Yeshiva and you meet them 10 years later and they give you a gefilte fish handshake. You remember we spoke about this once? Mm-hmm. You know what gefilte fish handshakes are? It's like they're not even, it's like, there's no stamina, there's no, Shalom Aleichem. They're barely looking at and they began to, kiviyachol, start looking lower at who they were and the people that were with them when they were at a much lower level in life. And they don't really respect it anymore. I have friends that I don't really see them that much. I don't spend so much time with them. That I know that Rav Weinberger pulled them out of Sha'ol Tachtis. He pulled them out of the lowest level in the world, right? Mamish, the lowest places. Pulled them out of there. But they felt like they needed to feel like they're more sophisticated and deep. So Shurim, I'm like, Belovim Mishkan Evne, that's for the, that's for the lower levels. And they can't relate anymore. It's such a chisaron, it's such a blemish, meaning when we diss the places we came from, what we had to go through, we're not honoring ourselves. We're not honoring the design that Hashem had for us. And it comes from an insecurity. We could speak about this for a long time. It's not the point of the shir, but it's a point I wanted to make. What he's saying over here is that at every shlav in life, when there's a push to move forward, when there's a push to experience and to grow, it's the cheshek of the heart, it's the passion of the heart that feels it. What happens then is that to continue the search, continue the growth, the passion of the heart then is looking for something deeper, something greater, something bigger. The confusion happens though when I can't identify myself anymore with where my passion of the heart was previously. But you have to honor it at every stage in life. So Rav Sasson is saying at this next stage in life, wherever we're going to describe where we're at right now, it's that the passion of the heart is saying more. Give me more. But it's not dissing what was. And that's very important when we're looking at Eretz Yisrael. It's very important to not diss the first 75 years. What's important, though, is to recognize that the passion of the heart is not found in the way that it manifested the first 75 years anymore. It's not satiating, it's not answering today's calling because we're growing up. It's like a person that's shocked that the clothes that fit them when they were 4 don't fit them anymore when they're 7. And they're trying so hard to put it on. But this worked. It worked when you were 4. Notice I'm not saying anything from the age of
your wedding dress,
15. I don't know when it starts, 16. But at the ages where there's a clear, change in physical growth, so we're not shocked that we have to buy new clothes when it comes to physical growth, but we're shocked, pressured, threatened when we have to buy new spiritual clothes at a later stage in life. And we shouldn't be. We should be happy, because if the same clothes work for us all these years, the spiritual levushim working for us all these years, zelot tov. That's not good. That means there's been no growth, there's been no advancement. It means there's been no development of the passion of the heart, and you're stuck in the same place. This is where we are. Kach gam b'chayei Am Yisrael, in the bottom paragraph. So too in the life of Am Yisrael. כשעם ישראל עמד לפני השלב הראשון של קיבוץ גלויות ובניין הארץ, before we were beginning this first stage of Geula, which meant a mass aliyah in coming home and building the country. Hacheshek hapnimi shel ha'uma, where was the inner passion of the nation? Kula na lakivun hazeh. It was all focused and driven towards this first shlav. The passion was put into labor, into physical growth, into action. We all were so, right? In this first shlav, it was all put in towards, let's work on getting everyone home as much as possible, and let's build, let's grow, let's develop kibbutzim. Let's build the country. Let the infrastructure be the focus, and everyone's passion was solely put into that. וכוונתנו אל שורש החיים שלנו, אור השכינה, שהיא מנביעה בקרבנו את הרצון העמוק הנוגע לכולנו אל גאולת ישראל. And our kavana, which was heading towards the source of life, which is the light of the Shechina, which sprouts from there within us, the deep ratzon which touches all of us, was El Geulat Yisrael, but it was on the more quiet realm. It wasn't on the top, right? Davar ze ba liidei bitui, even though it was meaning what he's saying over here is it's true that the focus was more on a physical structure. The cheshek of the heart was more towards building, but in its root, and Rav Kook saw this by everyone. In its root, it was basically saying this is the way towards discovering the source of our life. We have to do this first shlav now. And in the heart of hearts, mamash, deep beneath all the surface, and like I said, Rav Kook could see this in people, that was the real drive, right? That was the real drive beneath the surface. דבר זה בא לידי ביטוי בחשק שבלבבות המונים לבוא אל הארץ ולבנותה. This came to expression through the passion of the hearts of the masses to come to the land and build it. הרוח החלוצית הגדולה, this great, tremendous pioneer spirit, which was the story here for many, many years. התמסרות לבניין הארץ, complete dedication and commitment to building the actual land. It was like הייתה כאש בוערת בלבבות רבים. There was such a fire in the hearts of many. That was fire. When was the last time you were mamish on fire to plant a vineyard in Eretz Yisrael? Even when you say those words, what is that shayach to? Even though it's not true, it still is the most holiest thing in the world, but in terms of the cheshek of the am, when was the last time someone said to you, listen, let's go, I mean, now they're saying it because we're going down south and helping the chaklaim, helping the farmers, and the whole agriculture chevra that mamish been suffering. But that used to be like the hottest thing you could do. That was like the soul was on fire. My mother was she came here to kibbutz for a few years when she was, I think maybe 20 or 20, I don't remember exactly what age. Kibbutz Beirot Yitzchak, those of you that know that kibbutz, she was in Hachshara there. And any description of what life was like, it all had to do with it's the land. That was fire. That was the passion. That was everything, right? It was like esh bo'eret belevavot rabim. Bottom line, b'mesirut, b'nechishut, with determination, with commitment, lelo leot, without stopping. Kama ha'uma v'na el arza. The nation gets up and starts moving towards its land. Belahat uvecheshek atzonim, with such passion and such fire. Dveka be'admat ha'aretz, it's clinging to the land. Ve'aska b'mesirut nefesh bebinyana ubehitpatchuta. And with mesirut nefesh, it was committed to building it and developing the land. Om Nam. And this is, welcome to this shiur. This is, mamash, I feel like this shiur is the point of everything we've been learning. Mamash. Because this describes, what is that? Do you hear that? Mm-hmm. Is that music? Is that coming out of speakers here? Maybe it's someone's phone. Okay, maybe someone's phone is on. Okay, do you think it? No. I think it's someone's. I think it's someone's bad. I think someone's phone is just on playing music. I'm sorry. Okay. Omnam. It happens to me all the time, by the way. Like just all the time. I call people all the time. I don't know. I never turn off my my thingy that well, my phone. Omnam, me'az ota hatkufa miyuchedet. But since that precious time, since that special time, שבה רוח עם ישראל, שבה רוח עם ישראל הייתה מלאה להט של תחייה וקיבוץ גלויות, from the time that what used to get us all riled up was like, oh my God, we're coming home, we're building the land, right? למראית העין נדמה שאולי קיימת נסיגה באותה הרוח הגדולה שעסקה חלקים נכבדים מעם ישראל. This is really painful. But I think it's the truth. He says, since the time, that special time, when the Ruach of Am Yisrael was filled with fire of resurrection and the ingathering of exiles, L'mar'ita ayin, when we look at things, it seems that maybe there's some nesiga. That word means retreat. It means moving away. But from that same great spirit that used to really take hold of tremendous pieces of the Am. That doesn't seem like that's working anymore. Nachon? Or am I crazy?
You're right. 1973, the first big mecha'ah. And stuff started crumbling.
I was giving it a few more years, that maybe because I'm so stuck in my own aliyah year. I want to feel like 89 people were still like this. I don't know. It was definitely the situation in the beginning.
Every time New Orleans came, there was always this ruach hitchadshut. And they were all enthusiastic.
Right.
And those of us who were here and were jaded already were like, oh, tell us something we don't know because we can't do it anymore. No, really, it was really important for us to get that refresher.
Yeah. I mean, it should be. Like, why isn't it that, like, when Nefesh B'Nefesh has their flights, that you know, the reception at that many of you experienced, like the reception at the airport, that whole malach I mean, again, this is going to sound a little confusing to some of you that have made Aliyah the last few years. Those receptions at the airport should satiate the soul of the people like never before. That's what it was doing for many years. Now it's gewalt, it's great. You have a minister there making sure he's taking a picture and everything. Aval zelo. I came across a picture I must have saved a few years ago. I don't know what context it was. I was going through a phone or computer, and I saw a picture of an Ethiopian teenager, and he was wearing a crumpled tuxedo with a red bow tie, coming off the plane, and just looking like this. It was unbelievable. And then bowing down onto the ground and kissing it. You know, you still have some of these moments like this, but it's not. It used to be like this this is what it was always about. Rabbi Riskin told us the greatest story, how, I think I shared it once, how he met with a group of Yidden that made Aliyah from Ethiopia, and when they came, they made Aliyah, and then he met with them at an absorption center, and then they had their first meeting with someone, that Rav Riskin met with them right afterwards. And when he came into the room, they all started crying hysterically and tearing kriya. Did I tell you this story? They started crying and tearing kriya after they made Aliyah from Ethiopia. It's not jumping on a plane at JFK and coming here. You understand? It's all miftzah. Why? Because according to their tradition, they never knew that there was a Churban Bayit Sheni. So all the years that they were in Ethiopia, dreaming of coming to Eretz Yisrael, they thought they're coming to the Beis HaMikdash. What a crazy story, huh? We just accepted, we're coming back to a Beis HaMikdash list Eretz Yisrael. But it wasn't always, there are people that it's mamash. It's something crazy, right? This used to be the driving fire that people had to come here and build. That was it. That's what, and now we're looking at it and we're like, I don't know, today when someone builds something, especially if it doesn't follow green line, like it's horrible to even say a green line, but you know what I mean? Everything becomes like a dispute. Like, oh, that's good or that's bad. And then it's more and more tension. When it used to be that all those things were the clearest signs of Mashiach and nothing less. And yet those same things, when it comes to building an infrastructure of the land, seem to be causing more friction between the people then geula amongst the people. That's what it looks like. That's what it seems like. So let's back inside. We're in the third line. Halat v'amesirut leman klal am Yisrael ulebinyan haaretz nirim kenechlashim. It seems you see less like mesirut nefesh in these endeavors. The things that defined our mesirut nefesh, the first 75 years, it seems like it's less and less of it. Betachtam mit'oreret tshukot pratiyot yoter. And instead of these national tshukot of the heart, everyone has their own little personal, individual passion of, I want this, I want this. Ha'itbargenut. It's such a funny word. You know what that means? Huh? No, what? That's what the translator does. They know. Bourgeoisie-ish, yeah. How do you say bourgeoisie-ish in proper, in nice, simple English?
The slang is bougie.
The self-pampering, no? You understand where he's taking it? Like this, like, oh, I could have this and this and this and this to myself here. Look, you could live like this here. ההתברגנות ורווחת החיים החומריים האישיים מקבלות יותר ביטוי. These are all getting more of an expression. ואצל חלקים מסוימים נדמה שהשקיעה בשאלת החיים החומרית גם מעבירה אותם על דעתם. And you see by certain people, they've become so fixated over material questions, which bichlal was nothing to do with the way we started this country. And it's not part of the shlav of the Geula at all. That's a complete foreign way, understand? Even though, like, we're big on, like, okay, live comfortably, v'chule, that being the focus has nothing to do with why we're back in Eretz Yisrael. Nothing. Nothing. Chaver asks me all the time about, places to live, v'chule. And it's true that you have to make sure that you're living physically in standards that you feel like a mensch. But Eretz Yisrael is not the place where you come here to see how big your house could be and how much you could personally get. It just doesn't. It won't work like that. Like if that's the kivun of the am, ze lo ya'avod. That wasn't the purpose, and it's not that. And we see that the more that these things arise, the more there's like a national cheshek of the lev that decreases, and that's been the situation definitely the last 10, 15 years. Where is this great, tremendous spirit? Where did it go? Where's the great spirit? Shoalim nevonei lev. The deep heart ones are asking, where did the spirit go? Ohavei ha'umah mevakshim tovata. The lovers of the nation that are demanding the good of the people. Mai hazika kayom. You know what zika means? There's a better word for it. Zika is a... Huh? Affinity, yeah. Where's the affinity today? Where is it? What is it? בין המקום בו הלבבות נמצאים ובין אותו תהליך גדול שהחל בדורות הקודמים. There's a big gap, חבר'ה. There's a really big gap between the two. You see what he's saying over here, right? There's a tremendous gap. Yeah.
It's all true before.
100%, but now it's in our face.
Right. Like Ari Gontovnik was saying yesterday, and Shabbos, that he was writing. I don't know, like giving anything, but he was talking about the idea of like rights versus responsibilities, and that in like a country or a community that have like a lot of wealth, so then everybody starts focusing on their rights, versus when in a country when you're in like a state of emergency or scarcity, so you focus on responsibilities, and that's like the idea.
Yeah, that's very chazak. ואם מתבוננים לעומקים, but if we look deeper, ממש deeper, ומבינים שההתעוררות הזאת מקורה באור השכינה, שפקד השם את עמו, והלב הכללי של עם ישראל חזר לפעול בקרבנו, אז היה שאלה נעשית קשה עוד יותר. If we look deeper and deeper, and we realize and we admit that the whole resurrection of the people and the ingathering of the exiles and everything that we worked on in Komat Haguf, when it came to the labor, when it came to the first 75 years, only came really in its roots from Kol Dodi Dofek, right? Only came from there, really in its origins. That's what led the response that was more like a pioneer Eretz Yisrael, like let's put on those Kova Tembels and pick oranges. Like what really ignited that was the soul, was the Shechina saying, I'm moving back home. It happens slowly and it happens like this. So if we acknowledge that, he says, well then the question becomes even more difficult. האם חלילה אותה פעימת חיים שהזרימה רוח כבירה בעם ישראל נעלמה מאיתנו? Did this pulse of life that was flowing, this exalted spirit in Am Yisrael, become ne'elam meitanu? Did we lose it? Is it ne'elam? Is it... ne'elam doesn't just mean hidden over here. It means, did it go... Huh? It's almost like lost. Did we lose it? Now, anyone that's not willing to wrestle with that question, it's a problem. We have to wrestle with that question. The guilt emunah says, no, don't ever say such things. It's not true. Hashem is good. Everything's good. It's always with us. But you have to wrestle with this question because we have to acknowledge that there's a whole ruach here that, like we said last week in Shir, today the word meshichi, is it in the men Shir? Today, in Israeli culture, when you say the word meshichi, that's a derogatory connotation. Do you know that? Messianic. Meshichi, Messianic. When you say Meshichi, that's you're trying to be labeled as, the Meshuganas, the ones that are putting everyone in danger. Do you know that?
There's in English too.
What's that?
In English too, kind of.
When you say someone's Messianic, in English, it's more right. Meaning, I'll try to explain like this. When you say it in English, only because of, I think, like the influence of Christianity. So when you bring it into the in Hebrew, Jewish context, it freaks you out. But if the whole purpose of coming back to Eretz Yisrael isn't Meshichi, then what is it? Then it starts with Herzl and it ends with Herzl, which is not at all what we're doing here. I hope everyone understands. It doesn't end with Herzl. Right? I grew up with him with a picture. There was a picture of him in our religious school, a picture of Herzl on the wall. Then I started asking a few questions. Like as I got older, I was like, wait a second, I always was looking for his kippah because I saw such a Hasidic beard. I was always, every angle, I was always looking for his kippah. Then I started reading things about him. I was like, no, something is why. And the question is, why did Hashem choose that it should be through it? I have no idea. I just know we're here right now. But in Hebrew, I'm going to bring you back to the context we're in right now. When someone from a less religious or more left-wing party speaks about the dangers of the right, they always use the word meshichi as a negative, scary, threatening thing. Are you aware of this? Or you don't hear, Baruch Hashem, you don't listen to any of this stuff. That's a good sign. They always say this. Has anyone else heard this? Am I crazy? Has anyone else heard this? Yes. You've heard this all the time, right? Meshichi.
It's like, no, I have to go.
Right. Hem meshichim, hem kitzoniim, But that's only because, but this is why, where does it stem from? Is that the people that really built this country, let's face it, most of them that were acting upon this first, the whole Meshichi, the whole messianic, redemptive engine was so hidden. It was so beneath the surface. It was so nistar. It was so concealed for some reason. But now we're at the shlav that it can't be concealed anymore because we're not growing, we're not developing, we're not kadmut, we're not moving forward. We're not really moving forward. We're just existing. We are surviving, Bezrat Hashem, not thriving. Yeah.
I just want to say that also, at that point when they came to Israel, they were just holding on to something because it had just come from such a horror. But the Messianic period is like something that wasn't in not their consciousness, but they didn't know exactly So
Nachon.
the Geulah, for me, sounds so much redemption like that. I don't want to be redeemed.
Even they'd even have a problem with that word if they used it too much.
Messianic, I think,
Geulatim.
also comes,
They would all-
sounds Jewish, but also Messianic, like nothing against Chabad, but like Mashiach. And the thing is, it's not only wanting the Mashiach, it's really the Geulah. The whole purpose of the
Well, but I just want to some important footnote here. I wasn't even referring to post-Holocaust. The ones the Chalutzim began before the Holocaust, right? The Yeshuva Yashan, the Yeshuva Chadash, there were already thousands of Jews that were coming back here. And the Holocaust, of course, afterwards it added to that element of people that are holding on to, for dear life. But again, to put it back into how we're understanding it is that Beseder, for however many years you want to say, it wasn't necessary because it was all about Komat HaGuf. Baruch Hashem, don't diss it. What was driving that engine, our Emunah tells us, was that the Shekhinah was saying, I'm about to come home. This is how we prepare. We have to have a Mishkan, V'asuli Migdash, V'shachanti mitocham. So we have to have a Mishkan. We have to have a physical place to do it. Some would take it a step further and say, how could it be that we didn't start building Beis HaMikdash when we started coming back home?
I'm thinking of Maslow's hierarchy of needs.
Uh-huh.
Right? You needed to have the food, the home, then the safety, and then you get to the top of the self-actualization. So 75 years ago, we were at the base, and now we've moved up the pyramid towards the top.
We haven't moved. That's the thing, is that we haven't yet moved up the pyramid.
Slowly, it's a process.
I'm done with that. I can't. I actually cannot hear that anymore.
Right.
And none of our children can hear that anymore.
No, I agree with you on that. That's what I'm saying. 75 years ago, they were at the base.
That was the slow. Yeah.
Now
Now
I think we've zoomed right up.
we could.
Well, many of us have got
We
to the point that
we need to. We could. Adayin lo. Still no.
Individually, maybe, but as a group,
Collectively, no. No, not yet. No. Individually, many individuals, but Geula is not a Geula in its real meaning, Mashiach in its real meaning, Shalom in its real meaning, is a whole shift of consciousness of the klal, right? And Shama, and we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Okay, back inside. We're going to finish this paragraph. Fourth line in this third paragraph. Ha'im, and this is much more for a women's shir than a men's shir. Ha'im zerem ha'or shel hashchina, is the flow of light of the Shechina, ha'olech v'chozeret l'Tzion, that's coming back to Zion. Nechlash chalila, did it get weakened? God forbid. הלא אם ההתעוררות זו החלה מיוזמות פרטיות ומהתעוררות לב של אנשים פרטיים, אפשר אולי שחלה נסיגה וחולשה ברצונם. If the whole thing began with like individuals that felt a calling and a passion, then maybe by individuals, again, it was supposed to get to the klal. Maybe by individuals, it also started to get weakened. אפשר אולי שהגשימו את החלום, וכעת פנו להתבלגנות אישית. And that is the voice of many people here. He said, maybe the whole Zionist enterprise worked. And people now is, okay, we built the country, the yesodot are there, the foundations are there, so now it's time for hitbalgenut ishit. Again, this and now it's about like living as comfortably as I can with all the necessities and more on a personal level. Maybe there are people that actually think like this. Many people, you know what's amazing? Many of these people lost a brother, lost a father, dying for Eretz Yisrael. See, we're not talking about shallow people necessarily at all. We're talking about people that I would kiss their feet. Kiss their feet. They sacrifice so much so that we could be here. Bless you. But the whole notion of now is, how do you explain to that generation that already sacrificed so much? Let me tell you really why you sacrifice so much. Would you have the chutzpah to tell someone, knock on someone's door, lost a kid, lost a father, that they have nothing to do with like the Meshichi side of things, but they have very much to do with, okay, we built the country, we came back, and now it's about building nice homes and living comfortably and figuring out how I could just make the most. Can you imagine if I knocked on the door and saying, listen, I feel it's really important for me to tell you that the reason why you really lost your husband or your father is because the Shekhinah, are you kidding me? It would be the biggest chilul Hashem, and I'd be thrown out of there before I could know it, right? That's not, they did their zman, they did their tkufa, they did their job, that generation. They play a role that they'll get the revelation when Hashem decides to reveal it to them. It's about now, the next generation. It's about what we're praying for, a mass aliyah of people that are coming to Eretz Yisrael with this type of consciousness. That's why I feel like that's mamash tzav hasha'ah. Mass aliyah, thousands and thousands of Jews that are coming on the level of komat haneshama, living in awe and humility before the whole generation that went through komat haguf. The problem is that so many people that they don't know how to bridge the two. So many people with all these high spiritual aspirations don't know how to respect someone that doesn't keep Shabbos or keep kosher, but somehow they were driven to give their lives for Eretz Yisrael, and they don't know how to respect that. And the bridge has to be the light of the Chassidus, the light of the Shekhinah, that brings shalom between these two generations, between these two ways of looking at things. People are so threatened that if I start to respect those types of people, it'll start to do stupid things to my mind, and I'll start to deflect and go. Did I show you the audio from Rav Asher Weiss from Passaic a few weeks ago? Rav Asher Weiss was asked a shayla. I have this recording. He was asked a shayla.
We were talking about being triggered last week. That's what
You heard this one? Yeah. It was even something else. Can you believe it? Oh, but the other thing was, you figured out all the triggers. So this was your trigger. This blew me away, and I'm bringing it up for our responsibility. I'm only saying it for responsibility. I'm not mentioning any names because I actually don't know who the people that were asking it were. I just know they're definitely not from here. Okay? Reb Asher Weiss is a Gaon Kodesh Kodesh. Baruch Hashem, we had the privilege of. I saw Reb Asher last week. He remembered the night we had. It was like 85 years ago. It was last year, the night before Lag BaOmer. Reb Asher Weiss came and gave a shir here. It was a tremendous moment for the shul, for the kehila. This is one of the Sarei HaTorah, mamash, a Sar Torah. If you understand what that means, he's princely. He's noble. Even his accent, like. He could say words be'emet, like umbrella, and you feel elevated. The way his lashon is so refined. He was asked, I already told you what town, but I don't know where they're originally from, because I think they traveled to see him. What does Rav Asher have to say about the chashash that, a certain Rosh Yeshiva said that you shouldn't say tefillot l'chayalim? Why? Wait, hold on, before your blood starts to boil. Why? Because maybe then they'll be overtaken by such a passion and such a drive to be connected to people that are living with such a drive, and it may chas v'chalila meshachnei otam to eventually choose to want to be a chayal. Okay, the shaila itself is. Did I say it right?
I think it was also like chinuch for the kids.
And chinuch, and how do we mechanech the children to daven for such a thing?
Why might say
that? How could you give over that we don't approve of their lifestyle?
So I heard this question, and I paused and I begged Hashem. I didn't continue. I said, I need to know why someone just sent this to me so I could figure out what I'm supposed to do with this without absolutely losing my mind, that I live in the same world with Jewish people that talk like this. Hare, I am so much more connected to the treif eating Mechala Shabbos Yid that lives in a kibbutz down south, infinitely, than I'll ever be to someone that could ask such a shayla. Lo mistader li. That's not the type of person that I'm talking about, that I'm thinking about as part of this mass aliyah with the Ora Shechina to connect both generations, you understand? But they will be. They will be. When there's enough real Ahavas Yisrael here, they will be. And they'll beg Mechila forever, and their Rosh Yeshivas will come begging forgiveness from every chayal and every yid that ever did anything, they will beg mechila for ever even having such questions. Ever. So I'm proud to say, I was waiting to hear what Rabbi Usher was going to say. How is he going to respond? Because that's really what I didn't care what the... And he said in his noble manner, he basically said, any Rosh Hashiva that says something like this, it's time for them to pass the mantle on to the next type of... This is... And he said, and I'm going to stop now before I... Right? Before I get to that, right.
He said, I think we should stop this.
We should stop this now. And I was so... part of me didn't want him to stop. I wanted him to, go strong. But he said, I think we're going to stop this now, right?
Rabbi Twilight Jacobson had a shir on
I saw it,
this
yeah.
topic. He was in such pain and he was enraged. And he told it like it is as you kiss the feet of the Chayal.
The fact that that should be as obvious as it is that you say shahakol before water. I don't even know how this became I have no idea how this even became a...
Fear for their community.
It's a whole insecurity. It's nothing to do with the avoda of the bridging of the gaps that we're in right now. There's nothing to do with it. It's a leiv chadash that we're hopefully to receive. Is not the leiv that says, if we get a leiv chadash, everyone will just be frum. You realize that's not... Hashem can do that like that. That's not how I've ever looked at anything. It's not how I understand any of this Torah. What the question that's concerning Rav Sasson is, did the Shechina come and take a peek in 1948, let's say, and was hanging out in 67 for sure, and it kept on saying, can someone here please answer the door fully? And it saw that people chose to say, we appreciate you, thank you so much, pretty Shechina, holy Shechina, but it's 2024. It's us now. And he's saying you have to address that question. Of course, the answer ba'emet sheba'amito is no, because we have emunah. It can't be that's the answer. But on the surface, the answer is, to a certain extent, yes, meaning you're answering it as a people. You're answering. What do you want? What do you want? What is your identity? What is it that drives you to come back to this country and build it? What is the purpose of it? What is your zehut? What is your identity? It's an identity crisis. And it's touching upon the nerves of anyone that feels a sincere love and concern for Klal Yisrael. The Shekhinah is saying, listen, he's saying, do you wonder, maybe the aura of Shekhinah, that Zrima, just said, listen, I'm trying to get through the cracks, but it doesn't seem like that's really the interest here. And anyone that says, there's divei kfira, it's kima, it's slowly, it may work for the older generation. It will not work for the next generation. It won't. It won't. I've told you so many times, I'm so careful with those PC answers to my children. I never give my children those answers because I don't believe at all that is the hashkafa of today. It can't be. Listen, we're traumatized war. 40 rockets were fired in Rav Shimon Bar Yochai on Shabbos. We're just okay, so Boker Tov, good morning, Shavua Tov. A beautiful Ethiopian shoteret was killed this morning in Jenin. Another person they thought was a Yid, was an Israeli Arab, was killed 2 hours ago in Binyamin. It's not. At what point does the Shekhinah gonna knock hard enough on the door and say, listen guys, you just make a decision. Why are you here? Why are you here? What is the purpose? What is the purpose of you being here? Can you yourselves answer it? And whatever the answer is, just say it. Just say it. So I really want to finish this paragraph. I know we're late, but this is very important. Achalo, fourth line from the bottom. Achalo nekudat haratzon hapnimit shel kol ha'malach hi inyan eloki. Our emunah is, this is all a godly, as much as it doesn't look like it, Because people like Herzl were the ones that had a vision, like the Choseh Medina, as long as it doesn't look, people that doesn't seem to be at all, that it was a Ma'alach Eloki, Hit'orerut shel Knesset Yisrael l'chaim, an awakening of the ingathering of Am Yisrael to life, Acharei alpayim shnot shel galut. Of course it's got to be a godly thing. 2,000 years of a hiatus, and then something like this happens? Can you explain this naturally? Does it make any sense naturally? אם כן, הכיצד תהא חולשה מהירה כל כך בכוח רצון שהוא אלוקי ונצחי? Any weakness in the world that stands in front of a godly operation is nothing. Is nothing. We're going to continue right here next week because he answers this question whether it was a retreat or not. But I want to say one thing that I think is important for the hopefully a new way of looking back at this whole period of time, because there's so much tension in this country between people that hold like this is a godly thing and that it wasn't a godly thing. It was people that were looking for survival. God stopped talking to us 2,000 years ago. V'gamaynu. And honor that, respect that. The country is filled with blood, sweat, and tears of many, many people that weren't working out of messianic ideologies. They're working on survival mode, right? So I just learned something fascinating last week, because I decided I want to learn Zionism from the beginning without any teachers, just me. I want to learn it. So I started going back into the origins of Herzl, like everything from the beginning. Because you understand, those of us that grew up, you hear I have such a, fixation over these things because I was raised with this like very heavy Dati Leumi Zionist entity that never ever spoke to my soul, but I knew that was the emet because that's how I was brought up, that's how I was raised. This is a crazy thing. Herzl ended up writing a book called Medinat HaYehudim, right? And it was like a 60-page essay, but it went into a book, and that's what really the chazon of the Medina, of the future country, was based on his vision for the Jewish people, right? Now, a year before, okay, I think this is the last few years of the 19th century, you could correct me, I don't remember exactly what year this was. A year before that, he had a different solution for the problem of the Jewish people. 1 year before, not 5 years before, not 10 years before. 1 year before that, his other solution was mass conversion to Christianity. That all the Jewish people should convert to Christianity. So of course, if you're growing up from Torah Kiem Chayenu, you're not going to follow the path of someone that a year before thought that everyone should become Christian. Nachon? Which brings to the other question of, then how in the world did the religious Zionist world, how could they so easily hold so much from someone who a year before having this noble idea of Medinat HaYehudim had a different idea? Like, as much as we change our minds, it's not usually that drastic, right? We're not that, like, kitzoni and, like, different thoughts. Either mass Christian conversion or Medinat HaYehudim, right? That's what it was. He went through something monumental in that 1 year. That someone just came out with a book 3 years ago proving that so much of what happened to him during that 1 year was censored and covered up and concealed, that we don't have any access to really what was going on inside of him that 1 year. Because he went through some kind of a transformation that had to do very much with a deep connection to something in his Yiddishkeit, which we'll never really know because it was all concealed. And this person's beginning to go through the cracks of this missing year of what was going on in his mind that could lead him from such a mishigas to this conclusion. And it was covered up because it was so threatening that to people that didn't want that to be part of the resurrection of the Jewish people and the rebuilding of the Jewish state. So I'm like we said on Shabbos, that Shal Na'alecha Me'al Raglecha, we say it every year in Parashat Shmot, means, and I learned it, and I'm so happy you're here. It's the first vort I ever heard from your husband. Zecher Tzaddik Kol Shlev L'Chol Chayim Haba. First Torah he ever told me.
Yes.
First, he said it it's the first Torah he ever told me. He was the first one to ever tell me it. Shal Na'alecha Me'al, I said in Shul this Shabbos, Shal Na'alecha Me'al Raglecha, remove the locks off your habits. Meaning that if you really want to be in a relationship with Hashem, that which you think must be, just get rid of it and be open, because otherwise you can't hear what today is all about. So even all these things that we're fixated on this is the way that it is, that's who the person was, this is what I know, and even for him, even on someone like Herzl, to figure out a way to realize maybe we don't really know everything. Yachol liot, it could be. And on many, many other things in life, maybe we just don't know. Maybe we just don't know. I don't know. But alavai, that whatever this opening and removing of locks off of habits should lead us to one place. Addressing the cheshek of the lev today, which you cannot address with old gefilte fish. It won't work. Even if it's the yummiest, it just is not going to work. New fish, new herring, new everything.